Liz Morgan should have known something was wrong the day Maya asked for her social security number. They were 23, broke, and pretending that counted as figuring life out. Liz's studio in Brooklyn was barely big enough for a bed and a second-hand couch, and both were currently buried under half-eaten Chinese takeout containers. Late afternoon light pushed through the dirty window and made everything look softer, warmer, kinder than it deserved. Maya sat cross-legged on the sagging couch, phone balanced on her knee, dark hair pulled into a messy knot that looked accidental and expensive at the same time. She didn't look up when she spoke. "Hey, I need your social for the insurance thing," she said, thumb tapping rapidly on her screen. "The group policy, remember? We talked about it." Liz blinked from her spot on the floor, where she was hunched over her laptop, pretending to work on an article about top 10 faucet designs that will transform your kitchen. She had written variations of that sentence at least 50 times in her life. They had talked about it, sort of, in the chaotic way where Maya led and Liz nodded along. Maya's new job at a marketing firm came with actual benefits and something called a domestic partner add-on. She'd been going on about it for weeks. "It's stupid not to use it," Maya had said. "You're uninsured, Liz. One kidney stone and you're bankrupt." Liz had shrugged. She was juggling freelance copywriting, walking other people's dogs, and working weekends at a bookstore that smelled like damp plaster and regret. Health insurance belonged in the same category as vacations and savings accounts, things grown-ups on TV had. Now Maya finally glanced up, brown eyes bright, expression casual. "HR's chasing me. If I submit it today, you're covered from next month. I just need the number for the form. It's basically free health care." Liz pulled in a slow breath. Social security numbers weren't something you handed around. Even she knew that. But this was Maya. Maya, who'd sat with her all night in the hospital waiting room when her mother died. Maya, who'd dragged her out of bed on the worst days of grief and shoved coffee into her hands. Maya, who had always seemed to know what to do when Liz didn't have a clue. Liz's father was gone. Her mother was dead. Her extended family might as well have been on the moon. There was exactly one person in the world who felt like a safety net, and she was sitting on Liz's thrift store couch asking for a number. "Are you sure it has to be the social?" Liz asked, more out of reflex than defiance. Maya rolled her eyes lightly, the way people who understood paperwork did when someone didn't. "Yes. It's for the federal forms. They already have mine. I'm just adding you as a partner. It's not like I'm opening a secret offshore account in your name," she said with a small laugh. "Do you want to see the form?" She tilted the phone toward Liz. There it was. A real HR portal, company logo, blocks of text, Liz's name already filled in where Maya had clearly typed it earlier. "Dependent, domestic partner, Elizabeth Morgan." It looked official. It was official. A small knot of discomfort twisted in Liz's stomach, but behind it, louder and sharper, was something else. Fear. The kind that flared when she thought about getting sick, getting hit by a cab, slipping on the wet subway stairs. One accident away from disaster, one bill away from panic. "Okay," Liz said, grabbing her wallet from the coffee table. She unfolded the creased Social Security card, the paper soft from years of being shoved into too many pockets. She read the number out loud. Maya typed it in, fast and confident. No hesitation. No question. Then she smiled at Liz, that bright, targeted smile that made you feel chosen, like you were the only person in the room who mattered. "There," Maya said. "You're officially covered. Welcome to adulthood." Liz laughed weakly. The knot in her stomach loosened, just a little. 3 minutes. That's how long it took. 3 minutes to type 9 digits into a box on a screen. 3 minutes to hand her entire life to Maya Chin without realizing it. Later, when Liz replayed everything in her head, she would come back to that moment over and over. The warm light, the cheap noodles, the way Maya didn't push too hard. Just enough. How easy it was to say yes. She would think, that was it. That was where the story really started. At the time, though, it felt like something small. A favor. A form. A friend helping a friend. And then, 3 years went by. Most people imagine identity theft as something fast and violent: a stolen wallet, a hacked email, some stranger in another country buying televisions and plane tickets while your phone explodes with alerts. That wasn't how it happened to Liz. With Maya, it was slow, patient, like watching someone remove bricks from a house one by one while smiling at you from the doorway. The first brick moved 3 months after the insurance form in the studio. Liz was sitting at her tiny fold-out table, scrolling through her banking app with the anxious obsession of someone who lived paycheck to paycheck. On a whim, and because fear had become a hobby, she opened her credit monitoring app. Her score had always hovered in the "you're not a disaster but don't get cocky" range. She checked once a month, mostly to torture herself. This time, something new blinked at her from the screen. Open accounts. Student loan, old emergency visa, Capital One, new. Liz frowned. She didn't have a Capital One card. She dug deeper. There it was, opened 2 months ago. Credit limit, $15,000. Balance, 0. Payments, on time. Her heart started pounding. $15,000 could ruin her. $15,000 could follow her for a decade. She stared at the account name like it might confess by itself. It didn't. She hit call on the only person she trusted when life turned weird. Maya picked up on the second ring, voice slightly breathless, like she'd jogged down a hallway. "Hey, what's up?" "There's a Capital One card on my credit report," Liz said, skipping hello. "It's not mine." Maya went quiet for 2 seconds. Not long. Long enough. "Oh," she exhaled. I was going to tell you. It's been insane at work. I'm sorry." Liz's grip tightened on the phone. "Tell me what?" "It's for the apartment I applied for," Maya said, words coming faster now. "In Manhattan, remember? I told you about that place in the Lower East Side. The landlord's a nightmare. They wanted more credit history and available credit, so I opened a card using your info and added you as an authorized user. It boosts your utilization ratio. It helps us both." Liz stood up without realizing it, knees bumping the table. "You opened a credit card in my name?" "In our names, technically," Maya corrected softly. "My income, your credit, joint advantage. I know I should have called you from the leasing office, but they were about to give the apartment away. I panicked. I'm sorry, really, but look at your report. Your score probably went up." Liz opened the score history with shaking fingers. It had gone up. 18 points. Her brain didn't know what to do with that. The fear and the relief clashed and blurred. "See?" Maya said, and Liz could almost hear the smile sliding back into place. "I've been paying on time. No balance. You look more credit-worthy now. Landlords eat that up." "You had to use my social for that, right?" Liz asked slowly. "Yeah, from the insurance form. Look, Liz, I get that this sounds bad, but rich families do this for their kids all the time. Put them on cards early, build credit, cheat the system a little. We're just catching up. No one lost anything. No charges. You can set up alerts if it makes you feel better." Liz stared at the cracked paint on her wall. She should have said no. She should have said close it now. She should have said, "Don't ever use my information again." Instead, she thought about her life in numbers: rent that ate half her income, dog-walking cash that vanished on groceries, articles about faucets and bathroom tiles that paid 3 cents a word and stole her time. Maya, on the other hand, had a salary, HR portals, blazers that fit, a way of talking to people in offices that made them nod and say, "Of course." "If you get the apartment," Liz said slowly, "I could stay over sometimes." "It has a doorman," Maya said, like she was describing a miracle. "Laundry in the building, windows that actually open. We'd both be there all the time. Come on, Liz, we're building something." We. That word had always been enough to tilt Liz toward yes. "Fine," Liz said, voice small. "But next time, ask first." "Of course," Maya said warmly. "I promise. Love you." "Love you too." The Manhattan apartment never happened. A few weeks later, Maya texted her about it. Landlord gave it to someone who offered 6 months up front. Capitalism is a disease. The Capital One card stayed. So did the next one. It took Liz longer to notice the Chase card. Longer still to notice the Amex. Each time she saw a new line on her report, Maya had a story ready before Liz could even form the question. The Chase card was for work expenses. All reimbursed, don't freak out. The Amex was for travel points. I'm taking you to Tokyo for your birthday, don't you dare Google ticket prices. They never went to Tokyo. They never even went to Boston, but the numbers on Liz's screen kept marching in the right direction. Do you know how many people would kill for that score? Maya said once over drinks in a noisy bar, when Liz finally worked up the nerve to complain. The system punishes people like you for existing without a cushion. I'm gaming it for you. You're welcome. It was insane, and the worst part was a tiny, pragmatic piece of Liz agreed. She started checking her credit report less often. She turned off some alerts because they stressed her out. She told herself that if something was seriously wrong, she'd know. In reality, she'd already chosen not to know. That was the second brick gone. The rest followed quietly. Maya got promoted at work. She told Liz about it at a wine bar in the West Village where the cheapest glass cost more than Liz usually spent on lunch in 3 days. Senior marketing manager, Maya announced, clinking her glass against Liz's. 20% raise, partial profit sharing, and, she wiggled her eyebrows, I'm on the operations committee. Liz smiled, because that sounded important. What does that mean? It means boring meetings about budgets and resource allocation, Maya said. Then her voice dropped a little. It also means I have system access I didn't have before. HR databases, payroll, contractor profiles, vendor lists, the whole back end. Liz frowned. Is that normal? For management? Yeah, someone's got to approve things. But it's more than that, Liz. She leaned in. It means I can actually help people now, push things through faster, set people up, fix stupid bureaucracy. Liz didn't understand all of it, but she understood this. Maya had always been good at finding cracks in systems. Now someone had handed her the blueprint. That sounds like a lot of responsibility, Liz said carefully. Maya smiled over the rim of her glass. It is, which is why I need you to think bigger about what we can do with it. Liz's chest tightened. What do you mean? I mean, Maya said softly, for the first time I can change more than just your credit. Score! I can change your entire record, employment, income, the things gatekeepers look at before they even meet you. I can make their stupid filters work for you instead of against you. Liz stared at her. And you're sure that's legal? She asked, already knowing the answer. Maya's smile sharpened at the edges. Legal? No. Possible? Very. She held Liz's gaze, steady and unblinking. I could help you, Liz. Really help you. Not Band-Aids, not temporary fixes. I could build you the kind of profile that gets doors opened instead of slammed. You wouldn't have to lie at interviews or wait for some miracle job listing. You'd walk in as someone they already respect on paper. Liz's stomach flipped. She should have said no. She should have put her glass down, told Maya to stop, drawn a hard line. Instead, she asked the question that would drag everything else behind it. How? She said. And Maya's smile, slow and satisfied, answered more than her words ever could. This is where the story shifts from subtle creep to full psychological thriller. The moment everything cracked open came on a Tuesday afternoon in Queens. Liz was driving home from a dog-walking job, exhausted, sunburned, and replaying Maya's last message about a new opportunity that Liz still wasn't sure how to feel about. She almost didn't notice the police lights behind her until the siren gave one annoyed chirp. Her taillight was out. She already knew that. She'd been meaning to fix it for a month, but car repairs belonged in the same category as dental cleanings. Things you postponed until your bank account sighed in relief. The officer approached calmly, license and registration routine. Liz handed them over, embarrassed but not worried. A warning, maybe a small ticket, that was all. Except when he returned, the shift in his expression made the air feel colder. Ma'am, he said, polite but cautious. Can I ask if you've applied for new credit recently? Liz blinked. What? No. Why? When I ran your license, the system flagged a discrepancy. Your official address is in Brooklyn, but there's a recent credit application listing a Tribeca residence under your name. He paused. It's often a sign of identity theft. Liz's pulse thudded hard and fast. Tribeca. She hadn't even been to Tribeca. She couldn't afford to park in Tribeca. The officer lowered his voice slightly. You should check your credit file. Someone might be opening accounts using your social. It can get serious quickly. He handed her back the license and gave her a warning for the tail light. Liz drove away with her vision blurring at the edges. Tribeca. There was only one person in her life with reason, access, and nerve to use that address. She called Maya. Straight to voicemail. Meeting. Always a meeting. Always too busy to pick up at the exact moment Liz desperately needed her. By the time she reached her apartment, the panic had settled into something harder, colder. She grabbed her bag, got back into the car, and drove to the only Tribeca address she knew, the one Maya had mentioned months ago, the one she said she almost got, the one the officer had just connected to Liz's name. When she arrived, the building looked exactly like something Maya would want. Glass, steel, quiet doorman, high ceilings. Expensive in that understated old money way that didn't need to brag. Liz stepped inside. The doorman looked up. Good afternoon, he said warmly. How can I help you? I'm here to see Maya Chen, 14B. He tapped something on his tablet. And your name? Elizabeth Morgan. Something flickered across his face. Recognition, surprise, and something else she couldn't place. Oh, he said. Ms. Morgan, I didn't realize you and Ms. Chen are sisters. Liz's heartbeat stumbled. We're not, she managed. We're friends. My apologies. He straightened slightly as if embarrassed. It's just, you're listed as a co-tenant on the lease. Same last name, same apartment. I assumed family. Liz's mouth went dry. I'm on the lease? Yes, ma'am. He turned the tablet so she could glimpse it. Her name, spelled correctly, paired with Maya's. Also, we have several deliveries for you this week. Furniture, and I believe a bank envelope. Ms. Chen signed for them yesterday. Furniture, bank mail, all addressed to Elizabeth Morgan. At this address. Liz swallowed hard. Is she home? She should be. Would you like me to call up? No, it's fine. She's expecting me. That was a lie. But the doorman smiled and waved her toward the elevator anyway. The ride up felt unreal, soundless, as though the world had tilted slightly and she couldn't steady her footing. When she reached the door of 14B, she didn't even have time to knock. The door opened. Maya stood there, composed as ever, wearing a gray sweater Liz recognized. Not because it was hers, but because it looked exactly like something she would wear. Familiar enough to be unsettling. Liz, Maya said, her smile tight. What a surprise. Liz stepped inside, and the first thing she noticed wasn't the view or the expensive furniture. It was a framed photo on the shelf. College graduation. Her and Maya, arms around each other, smiling in bright sun. Except the colors were wrong. In the original photo, Liz wore a blue dress. Maya wore black. In this photo, the colors were reversed. Maya had edited it. Why? Before Liz could speak, her eyes caught something else. A pile of mail on the table. She picked up the top envelope. Ms. Elizabeth Morgan, 2157 West Street, Apt 14B, New York, NY, 113. Her name, her information, her life. But not her. She swallowed hard. Maya, she said quietly. What is this? Maya sighed softly, walked past her, and closed the door. Sit, she said gently. Let me explain. Liz sat on the edge of the impossibly nice gray sectional, hands clasped tightly, trying not to shake. Maya, she said again, why am I on your lease? Because, Maya said simply. You live here. Liz stared at her. No, I don't. Not physically, Maya corrected. But legally? Yes. She walked to the kitchen counter, lifted a thick folder, and carried it to the table. When she opened it, Liz leaned forward despite herself. Inside were documents. Dozens of them, neatly arranged, labeled, highlighted. Credit card statements in Liz's name, bank account records showing direct deposits she'd never received, pay stubs from Maya's company listing Liz as an employee, a lease agreement with her signature, her handwriting, except she had never signed it. Her stomach lurched. "When did you do all this?" Liz whispered. Maya sat down across from her, posture calm, hands folded in her lap like she were presenting a quarterly review. "About 2 years ago," she said. "Not all at once. Bit by bit. I knew you'd freak out if I dumped everything on you." 2 years? Maya nodded. "It started with the insurance," she continued, almost gently. "Then utilities, then credit lines. You never pushed back, so I kept building. You needed help, Liz. And I had access. I had systems. I had ways to do things that would take you 10 years to accomplish alone." Liz shook her head slowly. "You created a fake job for me." "Not fake. Active. In the system." Maya tapped one document. "You're a senior copywriter at Harrison & Clay Marketing. You make $75,000. You have a 401k. You have health insurance. You have an employee file HR would cry over. Your reviews are excellent, by the way." "I've never worked there." "Not officially," Maya said. "But you do the work. You write. You understand the field. I just put you in the right place." Liz stared at her, horrified. "You forged my signature." "I replicated it," Maya corrected softly. "There's a difference." "Why?" Liz demanded, her voice cracking. "Why would you do something this insane?" "Because you deserved more than you were ever going to get on your own." Liz froze. "You're smart," Maya said, leaning forward. "You're talented, but life didn't give you the network or the safety net or the head start. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here with access to systems designed to help people like my boss's nephew leapfrog their careers." She paused. "I used that system for you instead." Liz felt dizzy. "That's not helping. That's fraud." "It's survival," Maya said. "And it's working. Look at your credit score. Look at your savings." She opened the banking page again, turning the laptop toward Liz. $43,000, under Liz's name. "It's not a lie if it's improving your life," Maya said softly. "It's not theft if there's no victim. It's just leveling the playing field." "And what about the credit cards? The accounts? The lease?" "Shared resources," Maya said. "Like roommates, like partners, like people building a life together." Liz stared at her, something deep and cold stirring in her chest. "What happens if someone finds out?" she asked. "They won't." "You don't know that." Maya held her gaze steadily. "If you turn me in," Maya said quietly, "you go down too. Every document has your name on it. Your social, your signature. It looks cooperative. It looks intentional. It looks like you and I built this together." Liz's throat tightened. "So," Maya continued gently, "don't turn me in. Don't destroy everything we've built just because you're scared. You're not alone, Liz. You never have been. And everything I've done, everything, was for us." She reached out and took Liz's hand. "My best friend," she whispered. "I made you into the person you were meant to be." Liz sat frozen, her hand limp in Maya's. She wasn't sure what terrified her more, the fraud she was staring at, or the part of her that wasn't entirely certain Maya was wrong. Liz didn't go to the police. She told herself she needed time to think, that she needed a plan, that rushing into anything would make it worse. But none of that was true. The real reason was simpler, quieter, and more humiliating. Maya was right. Liz went home that night to her studio apartment. The peeling paint, the mattress on the floor, the radiator that screamed all winter. And for the first time, she didn't see it as humble or quirky. She saw it for what it was. A place she lived because she couldn't afford anything else. A place where every bill felt like a threat. A place that reflected her life exactly, barely held together. She turned on the lamp, flickering as always. and sat on the floor with Maya's folder spread out around her. Documents, numbers, proof. Proof that Liz, the real Liz, had never mattered much to the world. But proof that Elizabeth Morgan, the identity Maya had sculpted, was someone the world took seriously. She opened the bank account Maya had created. $43,000, deposited regularly, twice a month, as if she were a real professional with a real salary and a real future. She stared at the number until her eyes burned. She could pay down her loans, move out, replace the mattress, start from something other than zero. Her phone buzzed. Maya, sleep on it, take your time. I love you. Whenever you're ready, we'll talk. Liz didn't reply. She didn't sleep much either. For the next 3 days, she drifted. She walked dogs without noticing where she was going. She wrote SEO content that she forgot the moment she sent it. She lay awake at night replaying the officer's warning, the doorman's confusion, the edited graduation photo, the bank balance. Every scenario she imagined ended the same way. If she reported Maya, she'd drag herself down with her. If she stayed silent, she became part of the lie. Both futures scared her. But staying poor scared her more. On the 4th day, Maya arrived. She didn't knock. She used her key, a fact Liz had forgotten until the lock clicked open. Maya stepped in quietly, wearing work clothes and concern like matching accessories. "Okay," she said softly, sitting beside Liz on the couch. "Tell me what's happening in your head." Liz swallowed. "I'm angry." "That's fair." "And scared." "Of course." "And confused." "I'd be worried if you weren't." Liz's voice cracked. "I'm tired, Maya. I'm so tired of everything being hard." Maya's expression softened. She pulled Liz into a hug that felt exactly like the hugs Liz remembered from college. Warm, steady, safe. "This is why I did all of it," Maya whispered. "Because I knew you'd break eventually trying to do everything alone. You deserved support. You deserved more than scraps." Liz pulled back. "You committed a felony for me." "For us," Maya corrected gently. "And because the world doesn't reward people like you unless someone cheats on your behalf." Liz shook her head. "That isn't fair." Maya reached into her purse and set something on the coffee table. A key. A small golden apartment key on a sleek black keychain. It glinted under the dim lamp. "That's the key to your home," Maya said. "Our home. The doorman knows you. The neighbors know you. You're already part of the building. You just haven't accepted it yet." Liz stared at the key. It looked like a lifeline. It looked like a trap. It looked like both. "What would you expect from me if I agreed?" she asked quietly. Maya smiled slowly. "Nothing criminal. Nothing dangerous. You already have the job in the system. You just need to show your face once in a while. Attend a couple of meetings. Do some writing. Things you already do, but with benefits and a salary that actually respects your talent." Liz's voice shook. "You want me to pretend?" "No," Maya said. "I want you to step into the life you've earned." Liz didn't answer, but she closed her hand around the key, and Maya saw that, which meant the choice was already made. Liz didn't use the key right away. She told herself she was processing, but the truth was she was rationing her guilt, taking small sips instead of swallowing it all at once. On the 3rd morning, she finally drove to the Tribeca building. She didn't tell Maya. She didn't plan it. She just got in her car and went, like someone moving in a dream. The doorman greeted her with a warm smile. "Good morning, Miss Morgan." She hesitated before answering. "Morning." The elevator ride was silent and smooth, the kind of quiet that said the building was used to important people. When she stepped into the apartment, sunlight spilled across the floor like something from a commercial, bright, clean, effortless. She walked through the space slowly, a kitchen that didn't smell like old cabinets, a living room where nothing was broken, a bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows and no peeling paint. And then she saw it. The desk, her nameplate, Elizabeth Morgan, copywriter. A neat stack of business cards with her name embossed in silver, a framed diploma from their college, A laptop open and logged in. She moved closer as if drawn by gravity. The screen showed her email inbox. Hundreds of messages, coworkers, clients, HR reminders, meeting invites. People were talking to her. People believed she existed. And then she saw it. A message congratulating her on the successful pitch last week. She'd never been here last week, or any day. Her breath caught. Maya hadn't just built a profile, she had built a presence. A version of Liz who existed without Liz ever being there. A version who was praised, respected, known. Scrolling through the inbox felt like reading the diary of a stranger wearing her skin. She closed the laptop, heart pounding, and that's when the thought hit her. Maybe the stranger had a better life. The next day, Maya texted her, "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., meeting at Harrison and Clay. Time for Elizabeth Morgan to be seen." Liz threw up in a Starbucks bathroom an hour later. She wasn't ready. She would never be ready. But in the Uber the next morning, Maya handed her a garment bag. "Wear this." The suit inside was expensive, tailored, nothing Liz had ever owned or knew how to choose. When she put it on, she didn't recognize herself in the mirror, which, maybe, was the point. In the elevator of the glass tower in Midtown, her palms sweat so badly she left faint handprints on the railing. Maya leaned in and whispered, "Follow my lead. Don't overshare. Don't contradict anything. Smile small, not wide." The doors opened. A receptionist grinned. "Morning, Liz. Love the suit." Liz nodded, teeth clenched to keep them from chattering. Because this stranger thought she knew her, people waved, said hello, mentioned her mom's surgery, an invention Maya had created to cover Liz's absence. Every greeting was a reminder that Liz was stepping into a life she hadn't lived. Her pulse pounded so loudly she barely heard Maya whisper, "Act like you belong." "You do." The client meeting was the real test. Liz sat across from executives from Morrison Tech, listening to talk about cybersecurity branding. Halfway through, the creative director turned to her. "Liz, what's your take?" Her stomach dropped. Maya didn't look at her, didn't throw her a lifeline. Instead, she stayed perfectly still, letting Liz answer, letting Liz step into the identity she built for her. Liz inhaled slowly, and then something unexpected happened. The training from all those garbage freelance assignments, the hundreds of hours writing copy for faucets and dog beds, and 10 tips for successful branding, kicked in. "I think you're leading with features," Liz said calmly. "You need to lead with the fear. Companies don't buy cybersecurity because they want it. They buy it because they're terrified of what happens without it. We should position Morrison as the solution that lets them sleep at night." Silence. Then the creative director nodded. "That's actually very good. Can we develop a campaign around that angle?" Liz nodded. "Of course." Next to her, Maya exhaled slowly. Not relief, but satisfaction. Liz had passed the test. She wasn't just stepping into the identity. She was proving she deserved it. 18 months passed before the first real threat appeared. By then, Liz had settled into the strange rhythm of her new life. She went to Harrison and Clay 3 or 4 days a week. She produced good work, sometimes excellent work. She earned the respect of colleagues who believed they'd known her for years. She had a salary she never actually received but benefited from anyway. And most dangerously of all, she had begun to believe the life was hers. But the universe has a way of noticing when something doesn't fit, and it noticed in the form of a company-wide announcement. Harrison and Clay was being acquired. The creative floor buzzed for days. Rumors, excitement, dread. For most employees, acquisitions meant uncertainty. For Liz, it meant something far worse: verification. One quiet afternoon, her manager Paul called her into his office. "They're doing employment audits," he said matter-of-factly. "Just routine stuff. Background checks, credential verification, W-2 matching, nothing to worry about." Liz smiled politely. On the inside, her organs turned to ice. The moment she left the office, she texted Maya under the table. They're going to check my employment history. We need to talk. Maya's response came instantly. Apartment, 6 p.m. Don't panic. When Liz arrived at the Tribeca apartment, Maya was already pacing, a sign of real stress Liz had only seen twice before. The dining table was covered in an organized spread of spreadsheets, notes, sticky flags, and color-coded printouts. Maya wasn't improvising. She had been planning contingencies for months. Okay, Maya said before Liz could speak. We prepared for this. We just didn't expect it this soon. Liz stood frozen. Maya, my entire work history before this job is fake. There's nothing to verify. That's where you're wrong, Maya said sharply. There is something. I built it. She pointed to a list of company names. Keller and Associates, Blue Ridge. Creative, Chasebridge. Media. Not real companies, but real enough for background checks, if supported correctly. I created websites, Maya said, flipping through tabs. Archived pages, LinkedIn profiles for former supervisors. I even hired freelancers on Fiverr to pose as HR reps and provide references. It's not perfect, but it passes 90% of checks. 90? Liz whispered. What about the other 10? Maya avoided the question. Instead, she said, We have a few months, enough time to strengthen everything. The acquisition closes in 3, Liz said. Maya froze. Then she whispered, Then we work faster. She didn't sleep that night. Liz barely slept either. Over the next weeks, Maya transformed into something Liz had never seen. Part hacker, part strategist, part criminal mastermind operating under the guise of a corporate employee with extra access. She created email histories, faked tax forms using templates she pulled from an internal server she shouldn't have had access to, backdated references, built social media trails, installed virtual private servers for believable log trails. Every day Liz went to work, pretending to be calm, pretending to be competent, pretending to be someone who belonged. Every night, Maya worked until dawn, trying to hold their fabricated world together, but cracks kept forming. A LinkedIn profile for a fake supervisor suddenly got flagged for suspicious activity. A reference number disconnected. An archived website went offline. Maya patched each hole, but Liz could tell the truth. They were losing ground. 6 weeks later, Liz got the email she had been dreading. Hi, Liz. We're finalizing verification. HR needs to speak with you briefly. Please stop by at 3 p.m. She stared at her monitor, swallowing a wave of nausea. The office felt too bright, too loud, too real. At 3 p.m., she walked into the HR director's office. Susan, calm, polite, and terrifying in her neutrality, gestured to a seat. Thanks for coming, Liz. Let's go over a few things. She opened a folder. Liz saw her fraudulent life spelled out inside. So, Susan began, we verified your current employment here and your education. No issues with those. Liz almost laughed. Of course not. Those were real. But, Susan continued, we're having difficulty confirming your previous employer, Keller and Associates. Liz kept her face still. We were told the company closed, Susan said. That happens. But unfortunately, we couldn't find tax records showing you were employed there. Liz's throat tightened. We've also been unable to reach your listed supervisor. The phone number is no longer in service, because Google had shut down the free forwarding number Maya relied on. Liz forced out, I can try to find my old pay stubs. Good, Susan said gently. We'll need those. Background checks must be complete within 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks to keep the fiction alive. 2 weeks before everything fell apart. Liz nodded numbly and left the office. She made it to the bathroom before vomiting. When Liz told Maya, she saw something in her friend she had never seen. Fear. Real fear. Maya, Liz said shakily. What do we do? Maya clenched her jaw. We fix it. Maya, we fix it, she snapped, louder than she meant to. The silence afterward was sharp. Then Maya whispered, We don't run. Running makes you look guilty. Liz swallowed. But if we stay, We push the documents, we build new ones, we claim the supervisor retired, we produce fake W-2s, we rewrite digital logs. Whatever they ask for, we will produce it. How? Liz asked. How long can you keep building a fake life before the real one catches us? Maya stepped forward, voice steady again. As long as we need, she said, because I'm already working on our backup plan. She pulled a lockbox from a drawer. Inside were 2 passports, cash, encrypted cold storage crypto keys, airline itineraries for contingency travel. Liz picked up the fake passport with her face on it. Maya, when did you do this? 6 months ago. 6 months ago, long before Liz knew anything was wrong. Maya, Liz whispered, this is insane. No, Maya said. This is prepared. Then she said something Liz would replay for years. If this collapses, we disappear. But if it doesn't, we keep everything. And for the first time since this began, Liz wondered if Maya wasn't building a life. She was building a trap. Liz called in sick for 2 days. She sat in her small Queens apartment, the one she rented with Maya's stolen money, and tried to untangle her thoughts. Every scenario ended in disaster. If she stayed, she risked prison. She risked becoming exactly the fraud she never meant to be. She risked staying tied to Maya forever. If she ran, she'd lose her identity, her home, her job, everything she had built, real or not, and she would still be tied to Maya forever. She couldn't breathe inside either future. On the 3rd day, HR emailed, "Deadline approaching. Please submit employment documents ASAP. We're here to help." Help! The word felt cruel. That afternoon, Liz picked up her phone and called Maya. Her voice was steady, which surprised even her. "I've made a decision." Silence. Then Maya said slowly, "Okay. I'm not running." A pause, sharp and fragile. "And?" Maya asked. "I'm not lying anymore either," Liz said. Maya's voice dropped. "Liz, don't do something stupid." "I'm telling HR the truth." "About me?" Maya demanded. "No," Liz said. "About me. About my fake history. About everything I claimed about my past employment." Maya sounded like she'd been hit. "Liz, they'll fire you." "I know." "They might press charges." "I know." "And She stopped, breath hitching. "I'll lose you." Liz closed her eyes. "That's not why I'm doing it." "Then why?" Maya asked quietly. "Because I can't keep living like I don't exist, unless I'm pretending." Silence. Then Maya whispered, "If you do this, we can't ever speak again." Liz's chest tightened, but she didn't back down. "I know." "And you're really willing to lose me?" Maya asked. Liz didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was barely audible. "I'm willing to stop losing myself." The next morning, Liz walked into HR and sat across from Susan. Her hands didn't shake. "I don't have documentation," she said. "I never worked at Keller and Associates. I lied. I falsified my resume when I applied. I was desperate and broke and thought it was the only way someone like me could get a chance." Susan didn't react. She simply took notes. "And no one else knew?" Susan asked. "No," Liz said firmly. "I did this alone." "Not even Maya Chen?" "No," Liz repeated. She didn't know. It was the only lie she allowed herself. By the end of the meeting, Liz had confessed everything. Everything except Maya. She accepted termination. She accepted humiliation. She accepted consequences she couldn't predict. Because for the first time in years, she was choosing honesty over fear. And when she walked out of the building with her boxed-up belongings, she felt something she hadn't felt since the day Maya first asked for her Social Security number. Weight. Real weight. But also relief. Losing the job wasn't dramatic. There was no security escort, no office-wide gossip explosion, no walk of shame through cubicles. Liz handed in her badge quietly and left through a side door most interns used. The world didn't end. It simply changed shape. Her email access shut off. Her health insurance vanished. Her building keycard stopped working. Her salary, the fictional one Maya funneled into her account, evaporated overnight. She checked her bank account the next morning. $43,000. $2,152.11. Everything else was flagged as pending review. The credit cards? Frozen. Not by her, by the banks. Her credit score? Plummeting, fast enough to feel physical. She tried calling Maya, straight to voicemail, then blocked. A strange emptiness settled over her, as though someone had scrubbed a presence out of her life with surgical precision. For 3 days, Liz sat in her apartment, now too quiet, too honest, too small, and waited for the police to knock. For a letter, for a summons, for anything. Nothing came. The silence was somehow worse, because it told her the consequences weren't over. They just hadn't chosen their moment yet. A week later, her phone rang. Unknown caller. Liz considered letting it ring out, but something in her gut told her to answer. A woman's voice, crisp, professional. Ms. Morgan, this is Investigator Rhodes from the Department of Labor. We received your voluntary disclosure from Harrison and Clay regarding falsified employment history. Liz's heart thudded. This isn't a criminal investigation, the woman continued. You admitted wrongdoing, and you did so without prompting. We are closing this matter with a warning. Liz let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. But, Rhodes added, the company indicated they're reporting an internal data breach unrelated to your case. Was there anyone with unauthorized access to HR systems that you're aware of? Liz's stomach clenched. She thought of Maya, her scripts, her fake W-2s, her flawless digital footprint, her contingency passports. She thought of the lockbox, and of Maya's promise. If you turn me in, you go down with me. So Liz said the safest possible truth. No, not that I'm aware of. All right, Rhodes said. You'll receive official closure in writing. Have a good day. The line clicked. Liz sat frozen in her living room, realizing Maya had outplayed her even now. She wasn't just gone. She had buried every trace of her involvement before disappearing. 2 days later, Liz gathered the courage to go back to the Tribeca building. Not to reclaim anything, just to know. When she walked inside, the doorman frowned politely. Sorry, Ms. Morgan. Actually, it's Ms. Morgan, right? Liz nodded. He swallowed. I regret to inform you that your co-tenancy was removed last week. Ms. Chen terminated the lease. The unit is empty. Liz blinked. The apartment, the life, was gone. Did she leave anything? Mail? Boxes? The doorman shook his head. No, ma'am. Movers cleared it in 1 day. Fastest exit I've seen. And Maya? Liz asked softly. He hesitated, then leaned closer. She left in a black car. No luggage, just a backpack. Liz stared at the polished floor for a long moment. Thank you, she whispered. Then she stepped outside. The sun felt too bright, the street too loud, the world too busy to notice a life collapsing quietly in its margins. Maya was gone, not arrested, not questioned, not punished, just gone, and she'd taken every trace of their crime with her. Liz walked to her car with a single realization forming like a bruise. Maya had always planned to survive this, with or without her. 3 weeks passed. Liz found a part-time job at a pet supply store, minimum wage, but real. She applied for freelance work. Again. She called her student loan servicer and worked out a brutal but doable plan. She stayed up late rebuilding a resume that didn't glow, didn't boast, didn't impress. A resume that felt painfully, humiliatingly honest. And then, one morning, a plain envelope appeared in her mailbox. No return address. Her name handwritten. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a single page. Maya's handwriting, unmistakable. Liz, if you're reading this, it means we're done. Not because you betrayed me. You didn't. But because you finally chose yourself. Good. You think I'm angry? I'm not. I always knew you might walk away. I built the system so you could survive even if you left me. That's what you never understood. The life I made for you wasn't a trap. It was a bridge. You think everything collapsed. It didn't. You didn't lose a life. You lost a fantasy that was never built on solid ground. You'll rebuild. You'll be furious. You'll hate me for what I did. Maybe one day you'll understand why I did it. People like us don't get gifts. I gave you one. Whether you keep any of it is your choice now. I won't contact you again, but I will always love you for the years we built something impossible. M. P.S. Don't chase me. I don't exist anywhere you could find. Liz read the letter twice, then folded it carefully and placed it inside a drawer. She didn't cry, not because she wasn't hurt. She was, not because she wasn't angry. She was furious, not because she forgave Maya. She didn't. She didn't cry because deep down she understood something she'd been too scared to face. Maya had never been building a shared life. She had been building control, power, dependency, a world where Liz could never leave without losing everything. Liz just happened to walk away before the walls finished closing. 6 months later, Liz had a new studio, a new bank account, a new job, real, small, hard-earned, a new credit score slowly repairing itself, a new routine not built on lies. She still checked the mailbox sometimes, half expecting another envelope that would never come. She still avoided Tribeca, still flinched when seeing someone with Maya's hairstyle, still caught herself wanting to send one last message just to know Maya was alive. But she didn't. One evening, after a long shift and a cheap dinner, she walked into her apartment, dropped her keys on the counter, and realized something. Her life was plain, and small, and slow, and hers. Finally, irrevocably hers. She sat on the floor, leaned back against the wall, and closed her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt, not safe, not triumphant, but real. And real, she realized, was enough.